So Chelsea just walked away from a manager that delivered silverware. And if there's one thing that we know about Chelsea is that if you can give them trophies, you buy yourself time. If you can give them titles, you can give them wins, you buy yourself time. And Enzo Maresca has definitely given them both. He has given them a Conference League title. He has given them a Club World Cup title, defeating PSG in one of the most convincing ways that I have seen in a long time. And of course, you can't go without saying the Champions League qualification that still exists. So the question is, what actually broke in this situation? Because it wasn't just one bad result. It just could not be that. It was a slow collision between form, control, and power. It's definitely those three. It had to be those three. If not, you look at the situation and you're like, bro, it still does not make any sense. Trophies and then goodbye. And the funny thing about this situation is that Enzo Maresca is one person that is touted to take over Manchester City's role as their manager if Pep Guardiola decides to call it quits this year. And that is who you are letting go. I still do not understand this. It does not make any sense to me. But we are going to talk about it. Let's sit down and understand, and let's break it down and see what is going on in this situation. First things first, right? Chelsea's official statement, and I'm going to read it for you guys. Chelsea says, Chelsea was polite, brief, and very corporate in their situation. They said they have confirmed the split, thanked him, and highlighted the trophies. That's it. No details, no long goodbye, no we believe he will be successful elsewhere. Just done. You understand? That is what they did. There is what they did. And it's truly crazy to me because for somebody that has brought Chelsea back to a good spot where they can actually put together the Frankenstein of a squad that they have under a manager that understands how to actually play them, was a shocker to me. It was a shocker to me. You get? The first reason is quite simple. Let's start with the reason, right? The first reason is quite simple. And in elite football, the most forgiving is trajectory. We all know this. Chelsea's league form has dipped hard in December. And we can absolutely all agree that that was one of the problems. They have lost a lot of points. They have lost over 20 points from winning situations in the league. And that right there is problematic. One win from 7 league matches and the table swing was definitely damaging. Chelsea fell off from 3rd to 5th with a growing gap to the top and real pressure on the Champions League position. Again, they could not deal with it yet again. This was what happened last season. Of course, they won the Conference League and then they made it into the top 5. And then they got Champions League football. But the truth about it is that going from 3rd to 5th, 3rd in the situation where they were actually trying and the conversation was Chelsea are in a title race, and dropping all the way to 5th. And I say all the way because it feels like if Manchester United had won against Wolves, they would have dropped to 6th. And that right there is just missed opportunities upon missed opportunities. 1 win in 7, that is problematic. Champions League qualification at risk. One thing is for sure, Chelsea did not sack him for what he won. They parted ways because of where they believed the season was heading. That was the simple truth. It's the simple thing about the situation, and we need to know. Now, the second reason about the situation is the fan temperature plus Stamford Bridge is turning on Enzo Maresca. Let's be frank with each other. We need to be frank with each other. When results wobble at Chelsea, the atmosphere doesn't dip, it flips on its head. That is one of the fan groups that I know are very volatile in my mind. They do not care what the situation is. If you are not giving them trophies, if you are not giving them wins, if you are not giving them opportunities to say that they are entitled races, they will fire you before you can say jack. They will fire you ASAP. Of course, reports has basically said, specifically noted fan dissatisfaction is boiling over, including chants and boos around 2-2 draw versus Bournemouth. We all saw that. We all understood that this was a problem with Enzo Maresca and he needed to fix it quick. And once the stadium turns, it affects everything: player confidence, media pressure, boardroom nerves. At the club like Chelsea, the match day mood isn't the background noise. It's a weapon at this point. It's a weapon, and that right there, it turns the bridge against you very quickly. It's the weirdest thing that can happen. And of course, this is not the only reason in this situation. The third reason in my mind is the relationship between Enzo Maresca and the staff. Enzo Maresca and the ownership, my bad. Now let's go a little deeper. Let's look at what is actually happening. Because from form alone usually isn't enough to end a coach with a coach that has delivered titles to you. Form alone is not enough to do that. The Financial Times reported in this situation, Enzo Maresca's exit came after a breakdown in relationship with ownership and staff. The kind of tension that doesn't show up in an XD's chart, but decides the future anyway. And this matters because under the current ownership model, Chelsea isn't run like a traditional manager-first club. It's a structure-heavy club: recruitment, long-term squad planning, workload management, and the head coach is expected to fit inside that machine. And that right there is a problem. If the coach and the machine does not match, the machine does not get replaced. The coach does. It's simple as that. We need to understand this, and we need to understand it quick, because whoever is going to take the Chelsea job, of course, right now, the number one candidate is the Strasbourg coach. Strasbourg is a team that is under the Blue Call, which is Chelsea owners' umbrella group of football. But the truth about it is that another reason why there's a problem in between Enzo Maresca and Chelsea was the medical workload and the conflict that comes with that. A serious internal red line that Enzo Maresca, in my mind, just could not understand. There was no power given to him whatsoever. One of the most explosive details reported was about player workloads. Both in the Guardian and the FT reference tensions tied to Maresca disregarding medical advice around rotation, fitness, and workloads. That is from the Guardian, of course. In modern football, this is a massive red line because clubs now protect assets worth hundreds of millions. When performance staff say that this player should not start, the coach says, "I'm doing it anyway." You are not just arguing about tactics, you're arguing about risk, investment, and who truly has authority. That right there is where the problem lies. So why does this matter? Injury, loss equals loss of points equals loss of value. And that right there is where a problem lies for Enzo Maresca. Because this wasn't just football opinions. This was about control. Enzo Maresca had no control at Chelsea. Not a single dang control in my mind. I think the only thing that he controlled was the number of players that were in the team and who played the game. That was the only thing that he controlled. And for a manager that wants to have the power to say, do this and do that and play that, create tactics in order for him to go forward as a manager, it just did not work out. That reason was not helping out. And of course, the reason number 5 could also be the situation where he gave public messages. He said, "Oh, these were the worst 48 hours in my life as a manager." We all heard that. We all understood what he was talking about. We all knew he was talking about the Chelsea ownership. However, that did not do the job. That did not cut the proverbial line of support. However, what then I believe did the job was the links between Manchester City and Juventus. It was in the contract of Enzo Maresca that if he got an interest from clubs and he was willing to talk to them, he needed to come and tell the owners. He needed to make the owners well known about it. And he definitely did it. Then came the political moment. The kind of thing that ends relationship quickly. The Guardian, of course, reported that Maresca held discussions linked to a potential Manchester City move. Of course, we all know that Pep Guardiola is going to leave sooner than later when it comes to Manchester City. And also tried leveraging outside interest, including Juventus in contract talks, and Chelsea rejected it. Even if you are within your rights to talk, clubs hate the optics of a coach preparing to negotiate from the dugout, especially during a rocky time of the club. Now, Chelsea can accept poor form. They can accept tactical debates. They will not accept a coach negotiating from their dugout. They will not accept that, because that tells them that you have checked out of the project that you guys want to do. It tells them it's quite simple. And that right there is where the problem lies for Enzo Maresca. But the truth about it is that Enzo Maresca has already proven to the world that he is an elite coach. He has told the world that he got what it takes to do the job right. And so he will not lack. He truly will not lack a new job. He won't lack a job. It probably comes in January anyway, because maybe he waits for Manchester City. Maybe he goes to Juventus. Who knows? But the truth about it is that Enzo Maresca will be back coaching, if not this summer. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that follow button, and hit the subscribe button so you do not miss out on anything that we do here on Pillah Sport. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.